Welcome to the Rural Dispatch, the podcast delivering stories from rural America. I'm your host, Allie Behrens. Headquartered in rural Iowa, I help run a nationwide livestock transportation company, and I'm here to bring you stories from the people who help shape this industry and our rural communities. Whether you're a trucker, livestock producer, or rural entrepreneur, this show is for you. Each week, we explore the realities of rural business life, from the highways to the fields and everything in between. So buckle up and let's dive into today's episode. Okay. Ready?
I'm nervous.
You're nervous? Why are you nervous? I guess we just jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
By telling I'm wearing Putakana. Coming to you live.
But not live, because we're pre-recording.
It's a blistering -15.
It's like a weather report. -15 at home, 80 here.
I wonder what the temp is here. 79 right now, currently.
It's going to feel real cold when we get home. Let's talk about who you are. Tyler Behrens.
Better known as Smoke. 90% of the people we deal with know me as Smoke Behrens. If you were to go out in the trucking industry and tell them Tyler Behrens,
nobody knows who that is.
They are not going to have a clue who you are talking about.
That's true.
For some reason, the name Smoke has really stuck.
It's really stuck with you for a long time.
Yeah.
When did this start?
I wish I had a good story for all the times we get asked how we ended up with the name Smoke.
But we don't.
They claim my parents gave it to me when I was about 2. They don't even really have a good story. Besides, I was always on the move, they said.
Which makes sense now that we have a 2- and 3-year-old. I can see where it came from.
Yeah, they do not slow down. They wear me out.
Yeah, me too. We're tired all the time. The trucks are the easy part. Maybe not.
Speak for yourself. Not that I'd want to be a stay-at-home dad. Yeah, so Smoke Behrens. Smoke started when I was 2, and here I am, 37 years later.
How did we get here? Who chose this?
Well, we run a trucking company. We run 17 trucks currently, dispatch 17, feed a few cattle. That started as one of my dad's hobbies, but it has grown to be just a little more than
a hobby.
I
mean, if we were to feed all of these cattle ourselves, it would be a full-time job.
Right.
We don't.
We don't feed any of them ourselves. Yeah, I think they said Dad started back in 82. He bought his first truck. And then, oh man, I don't know. We'd really have to ask some of the old boys. Then he bought out Denny Pudens from Breda, Iowa, sometime in there. I don't even know if that would have been in the 80s or 90s. And then I think it just kind of continued from there. Started as Behrens Trucking, and then in 2008, that's when we made it into J&T Express, which stands for Jeff and Tyler.
And you were still driving then. You haven't been in the office, like full-time dispatching.
No.
Since we've been together, you have been, but
I drove for the first
year
or so.
Yeah, year.
Since we got together. So I would say I've been in the office full-time now for 5 years.
That sounds about right.
Every once in a while I'll venture out, but it is not very often. Like, not often at all.
Nope.
That I venture out. I do like to still run around, pick up some of our own stuff, go to Omaha from time to time.
You would rather drive?
I would way rather drive. That office is brutal. The days go very slow in that place.
Yeah. Tell me about it. At least your phone rings. People want to talk to you.
Yeah. It's tough out there right now. There's just not a lot moving. That time of year, I read somewhere in the year of 2024, we went down 14,000 farms.
I believe that.
Like people that were, feeding some sort of livestock, that number has gone down 14,000. So, I mean, not all them people had cattle or livestock, but just say they did, and they had 100 head. What is that? 1,400,000 head less.
Yeah.
I mean, they're somewhere. We'd like to think they're somewhere. I don't know. Does that come back to the numbers are down like everybody says they are? It is just a tough old deal out there right now. I mean, clearly I don't think it's just us.
How many of those farmers, though, do you think haul their own livestock?
Oh, I think there's more farmers out there that haul their own livestock than what you think there probably is.
I feel like everybody owns at least one truck, one pot.
Right. Like they already have the truck because they haul their own grain.
Right.
So they just went ahead and bought a pot, and they haul a few of their own fat cattle. If they buy the feeders locally in Sale Barn or whatever, they run around, pick up their own feeders. I mean, there's still some long haul trucking out there. I mean, quite a bit, but it's the freight kills people anymore. So I feel like that's cut down a lot on the long stuff.
I know in the past year, it seems like we've hauled a lot more short haul stuff.
Right. I don't feel like our numbers typically right now, the number of loads per week is down, but I don't feel like the number of loads per week has gone down much. They're just way shorter hauls. So it takes way less trucks to do it.
It's harder to keep everyone busy.
Yeah. We still haul the same number of loads. They're just not going the distance they used to.
I had someone ask a couple weeks ago. They farm and feed cattle, but I think they raise most of their own, and they were buying feeders from a few states away. And she reached out and asked if we would haul them, what the rate was, and if we charged to bounce from Carroll to, I think it was Arkansas, when you start charging per mile.
You start charging at the chute. So your miles are from chute to chute. So it don't matter. I mean, it's not their problem that you bounce 500 miles
right
wherever you're going. I mean, you start charging at the chute. So yeah, your miles go from chute to chute.
A while back when we were hiring a driver, we pay drivers by the mile. And apparently out there, it's fairly standard to only pay
when they're loaded
miles.
Yep.
Whereas we pay, if you're bouncing a truck 500 miles, you're paying that driver for those miles.
Yeah. So in our own personal truck, we're paying our driver all miles from the time he starts the week to the time he ends the week.
Right. As it should be.
Yeah.
They're an employee. They're on the clock.
But that's why I like owning my own trucks too. If you have to bounce somebody halfway across country, I do it with my own truck versus an owner operator. Because I mean, it's not really their fault. I didn't find something for them going that direction. And that is something that brings you down a little bit as a dispatcher. When it doesn't work out for them, you always feel like you're not doing your job.
Yeah. But it goes back to it ebbs and flows. Some weeks are really good. But those owner operators are a business owner too. They have to understand that and prepare for it just like we do, and manage their cash flows and all the other things that go into it.
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially, they're a small business owner.
I feel like you say it all the time, I'm just a truck driver, but you're way more than that.
Yeah, well...
Maybe you used to just be a truck driver, but not anymore. You have way more responsibility.
We don't haul for a lot of big companies, so everybody we haul for essentially is one of your local farmers. I mean,
farmer feeders.
Farmer feeders, yeah. We do haul for some bigger companies, but yeah, for the most part, I would say farmer feeders. And when they call to book a truck, every single one will ask your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my easy out. I'm just always like, I'm just a truck driver. Just tell me what to do. Because it's all a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
I guess. So
to an extent,
are you moving mini feeders? Are you hauling fats? I mean, it's the same.
Which, coming from a position in the livestock industry, whereas I was a lender, I very much had my hands in what was going on with my customers. But you talk to all sides of it. You talk to cattle buyers, you're talking to the packers, you're talking to the farmer feeders, you're talking to everybody. You see way more of what is happening in the industry than I think anybody else that really gets like a front row seat to everything going on.
That is a good point. I suppose that is probably why they do ask me more questions.
Well, and you're sitting in the office all the time. I mean, you talk to people, but really, our truck drivers know what's going on way more. I don't even know if they realize that.
Well, yeah, but they'll tell me, say we load some trucks in Virginia, going to Kansas or Iowa or Nebraska, wherever they're going. You'll got some guys you'll talk to them the next morning. They'll be like, oh, we didn't meet 5 cow trucks coming across there last night. And that's just when you're like, man, there ain't shit happening out east.
Mm-hmm.
Or, right. Wherever it may be. I mean, they'll tell me that all the time. Yeah, we didn't meet 5 cow trucks coming across there last night. It's like, oh, that's scary. Mm-hmm. That means there is
really nothing to do.
Nothing happening.
That's another thing I find interesting, though. You can be anywhere in the United States and you have a contact somewhere that you call. What's going on here? Do you have anything in Colorado or whatever? It's an extensive network and you all work together.
We do. And the thing that's hard for farmer feeders to grasp is even if I don't have a truck, I'm going to find them one. That is my responsibility as a dispatcher.
Yeah.
Is I don't get to tell you no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're my customer, I'm going to take care of moving your livestock.
Right.
Even if I don't have my own trucks. And, you get that a lot from farmers. So I said, well, do you have a truck here? Well, no, I don't. But I got a list of 4 guys that turn trucks in sitting there. Like, we're going to cover it. Do you get west much? Well, it's a pretty wide open question. If you ask me, west is Colorado. They might think west is Idaho or California, which we still go to every week. So, yeah.
Well, and part of what makes it work is you trade loads with guys. You might have a guy out west, but you have loads out east. Somebody else has trucks out east. And
Yep. Yeah, we work with a big network of other trucking companies, and that's what makes this whole deal work. Is trading freight with people. If you don't trade with other people, you'll never make this deal work. And what we do, the way we operate, you would never make this operation work if you did not get along with other trucking companies and trade work with them. It's like single truck and trailer guys. You like using them because they're good at their job. But on the other sense, it's like, well, I could use him because I know he's going to do a good job. Or I could use this company that I know has 2 trucks sitting out there, and I know they're going to give me something back someday. Mm-hmm. Maybe not this week or next week, but they're going to trade with you sometime or another.
Yeah, it's a give and take. That's another thing about working with company. I mean, you've had things go wrong hiring a truck off the load board that you don't know. I think everybody's probably had it happen, and it sucks.
Yeah, you definitely. If you're going to post on the load board, you wait for your phone to ring for hopefully somebody you know. And you give it 10 or 15 minutes, and if somebody hasn't called yet, then start rounding back to some of the missed phone calls.
I would say that our network, not even necessarily our drivers and owner-operators, but all of the people that we work with are professionals, very much so. They take their jobs very seriously. They know what they're doing. They're experienced with livestock, which is huge, especially considering how much cattle costs these days.
Yeah.
You can't afford to have something go bad.
Yep.
Not only our customer, but us with insurance and everything else. You're playing with big dollars anymore. And I mean, if you think about it, you put a guy in equipment worth $500,000 and send him down the road. That's what it costs anymore.
Yep.
And then the livestock.
Well, let's add this up.
Running down the road.
A new truck is going to cost you, just say $230,000.
Yeah.
A new trailer is $150,000.
$130,000. You can get one for $130,000 if you're an EB man.
So let's say, what did we say? Okay, so fine, $230,000 and $130,000. So you get $260,000. And bought a load of feeders a couple weeks ago. That bill was $147,000. So just say $150,000. So you got $260,000 and $150,000. What's that? $410,000?
No, $510,000. This is why you have me.
Just cruising on down the road. You
no big deal.
Can better have somebody you put some trust in behind the wheel of that thing. I hope the cattle come back down to reality a little bit and moving trucks will get a little easier because it is very stressful wondering every week what you're going to do with somebody. And I think you could find something for them to do, but say somebody will offer you a load, it don't matter where it is. And you're like, I got a guy that could go, but what am I going to do with him when he gets there?
Right. And nobody likes to sit anymore.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating that back in the day, before cell phones, you'd go and you could sit for
a couple days,
check in at a payphone with your dispatcher.
So, yeah, I think you could find something for them to do, but that's always in the back of your mind. Like, what am I going to do with them, though, when they get there? Sometimes
it works out.
You're right.
It seems like everything always has a way of falling into place. I do not envy your job, though. I wouldn't want to do it.
Well, like, did you, before you ever met me, and you were kind of, like, you knew about trucks. I mean, in the lending world, you had to pay truckers. Then you're like, I would have never dreamed this is how this industry worked.
No, I had no idea there was so much that went into it.
You might not ever meet a dispatcher, and they become your best friend just because you talk to them every single day.
Well, we just got a wedding invitation in the mail a few months ago, and I said, who is this? I had no idea who it was. And you're like, oh, yeah, I talk to him every day. Oh, his soon-to-be wife might feel the same way as I do about inviting strangers to your wedding. I mean, they're not strangers to you guys, but to the significant other, we've never heard of them before. And not to say we haven't heard of them. We've heard stories, but we never meet any of these people. So if I don't put a face with a name, it's just kind of, it doesn't stick with me.
And your phone goes everywhere with you. You know, I would say 5 out of 10 Sunday mornings, I have to walk out of church to answer my phone.
I guess how I kind of got started even working with you is we were at the office every Saturday morning. I don't know how long we were dating before I started heading to the office with you on Saturday mornings, but I learned pretty quick. You're a pecker at the keyboard, and it takes a really long time for you to enter shit in a spreadsheet. So I remember I started going to the office with you on Saturday mornings just so I could enter loads in the spreadsheet so we could get to the lake quicker. While you did a schedule, I could do all the bookwork things.
Yeah, or before you started helping, there was a lot of late nights where everybody just went to bed, and then I'd go to the office and just do all that stuff at nights while everybody was sleeping. But we got a good team in place. It works well. We've really cut our time down. I get bored some days now as much as the phone don't ring.
We did get to go to lunch a couple times the past month. Busy season extended much later than it normally does this year.
And it'll come, I mean, it is negative 15.
Nobody's moving anything right now.
There is nothing moving unless it has to be moved.
And there was a snowstorm across damn near the whole country last week. I mean, everywhere was blanketed in snow. At this point, you just wait. It's better on everybody, drivers and the livestock and the equipment, if you just wait for it to be above 0 degrees.
Yesterday, I said, I think let's just haul what's on the books this week, and we are not going to push the subject of anything else. Like, let's haul what we have to. Otherwise, let's just keep them in the shop where it's warm. My dad always used to say, you work all year to pay for your repairs in the winter. Man, when it's 0 degrees out, shit breaks.
You went and hauled fats a couple weeks ago, and you took a trailer that really needed greased and just...
It needed some TLC. It hadn't been through the shop in a while. I had a guy drop it off that had not been through the shop in a while. I was like, you know what? Why don't you drop that trailer off so we can give it some TLC, take a different trailer with you. I ended up being short a truck for fat cattle. So I took it that morning to go haul fats to Omaha. And it was one of the mornings it was 0 out. And I could not get that belly gate open. And I'm tugging. I'm like, I got to stop before I break this thing. And I mean, I don't drive a certain truck. When I used to drive, I used to keep a can of starting fluid in my truck. I used to spray that starting fluid, light whatever gate on fire. A lot of people carry torches. Any sort of heat really works. Well, I don't drive a certain truck, so I don't carry that stuff with me anymore. Just take whatever truck's in the shop and run to Omaha quick and come back. And I could not get that gate open. I was like, what am I going to do? Well, I found some paper towels in that truck, and I lit them paper towels on fire and got that gate loose. It's just, I told you that day when I got home, I go, more people could just improvise.
I mean, how many people even carrying a lighter on you? I don't carry a lighter on me.
Yeah, well,
you're a seasoned, I mean, you don't really smoke anymore, but you used to.
That's like a habit thing. I just carry a lighter.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. Some people carry pocket knives. But yeah, so that morning I was fortunate that I do carry a lighter in my pocket to light the paper towels. So usually where there's a will, there's a way, but it's not always convenient by any means. But man, I'm telling you, just nothing good happens when it's 0 out.
No.
All the bad things come out.
But you still have to do your job. We just talked about this morning when people were complaining about their kids going to school when it's negative out. And I don't know where it went wrong, but people still have to work outside every day, even if it's negative 15 degrees. I can guarantee you that farm kids, if they are staying home from school, their little butts are out there unthawing waters because dad's sick of doing it.
Right.
The world needs more farm kids.
Well, there used to be. But in 1 year, we went down 14,000 less farms. So that's going to continue to drop every year. Now, my dad used to say that's why it's getting so hard to find livestock haulers. It's because when he started back in the 80s, most of the livestock haulers were farm kids.
That's how people got their start. There wasn't enough money on the farm.
Yeah, they were working on the farm, and Dad said, there's not enough money to be made to keep you around here. You're going to have to go drive truck. So majority of the livestock haulers were farm kids that pretty much, I mean, you know, they got kicked off the farm just because there wasn't enough money to be made to keep everybody around working. And that is no more.
It's way easier to go get a job in town or selling seed or doing really anything.
Oh, yeah. Anybody can be a seed salesman. I don't understand how there's so many seed salesmen out there.
It's everybody.
This is like, oh, how'd you all of a sudden become a seed salesman?
It's kind of like a pyramid scheme. Well, my neighbor.
That pretty much. Would you read the pamphlet? Oh, I could do that.
Maybe we should supplement our income. Might as well.
I feel like we do well supplementing our income. Like we got our money spread out in different.
We're diversified.
We are diversified.
And we work hard at it too. It's not by chance that we get into these. I don't know if you call it side business. I mean, it's strategic. Our full-time jobs demand a lot of our attention. Everything else we do needs to be somewhat passive.
Yeah, and I tell that to people. Never forget what got you where you are, and that's trucking. So all your undivided attention needs to be in trucking. I mean, as much as I like feeding cattle and whatever, I mean, my full attention is still.
That's why we have cattle in custom lots. We don't have time to fuck around with rations and this and that. Leave it to the experts.
Yeah. Our expertise is trucking them. Their expertise is feeding them. And it works well.
But it's like anybody that you do business with. If you're a livestock producer, you want them to have some idea of what's going on in your world. And I think feeding cattle ourselves keeps us pretty well connected. I loan money just for cattle for, I don't know, almost 10 years. And the amount of bankers I came into contact with that have no ag background whatsoever and have no idea what is going on. You don't want to do business with them. You don't really want to do business with somebody hauling livestock that knows nothing about livestock.
What else do you think you borrowed money for?
What did I loan money for?
Yeah.
Cattle. That's it. Cows.
Oh, that's it.
That was it.
I mean,
we
didn't have any hog customers?
I myself did not have any hog customers. There are so few independent hog feeders anymore. We had one guy dedicated to any of the hog financing because he knew that.
Wait, what about buffalo?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I did loan money to a guy for buffalo once.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Those suckers are on feed for a long time.
So, did you borrow money for Wagyu?
I did, yeah.
I mean, that's the same concept. Them things are on feed for 2 years.
The same guy who borrowed for buffalo was feeding Wagyu. And so it wasn't a far jump for him because he was used to this long feeding period. But those suckers just drug on and on. One more thing I do want to say. We're in Punta Cana. And the first day we were here, we were sitting by the pool. And you had your hat on that just says Barron's on it. It's our logo.
Carroll, Iowa.
And a guy a couple chairs down said, "Is that a trucking company? Do you trucker or what?" And he was from Indiana or Illinois. There was two of them. They were down here for like more seed salesmen. I don't know. Were they salesmen? An AgriGold meeting.
Yep. They were down here. AgriGold brought him down. Gentleman in his 60s. I mean, we ended up having a really nice conversation.
Talk about people from the Midwest. You could strike up a conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's got some connection now.
Well, then that's what it was. He goes, Barron's. I've seen that name before. And I'm like, oh, yeah. He goes, you haul livestock. That's us. And he said, Fairview, Illinois. And I go, yeah, we sent some trucks in and out of the sale barn in Fairview, Illinois. That's right. That's how that whole conversation started. He goes, I've seen that name before. You haul livestock. We do. I mean, that guy, he really got into his life story.
He did. He was an open book.
Yeah, he was.
Which I find very interesting. Had I been prepared, I would have asked him to maybe come on a podcast because I think it's so cool to hear people's stories about how they started from nothing. Absolutely nothing. But when he got started, he had to go drive truck, he said, because there wasn't enough income.
Yeah, he just took over the farm, I think at 56, he said. So, within the last 10 years, he had just finally got back to farm. And then we got into the whole thing of his dad was 80 and he didn't know how to make extra money. You planted the corn and then you picked it and then you sold it. There was no hedging, marketing your corn and whatever. You planted it and then you combined it and then you sold it. And that was that. He had said how far they've come since he took over. Just the old ways just don't. They work.
Well, we've always kind of said this. You have to be consistent. Anyway, what else we got?
I'll tell you what else I got is yesterday we met another guy at the pool. I mean, you just strike up conversations with everyone. This guy was from Southern Indiana. He was telling us how they raise watermelon down there. Their county per capita is probably the biggest watermelon grower.
Right, which you don't think Indiana thinks watermelon.
Watermelon? In Indiana, which I guess I'm not even sure where I thought watermelon was growing, but
California, like everything else.
I didn't think it was Indiana. I know that.
Right. How often do you think you will come on my podcast? This is easy right now because your phones are forwarded back home.
Yeah, you can edit out my phone calls. I mean, not unless people want to listen to my phone calls.
Oh, we're going to be there for hours. Your phone rings every 5 minutes.
This was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Especially get a couple beers in me. This will really be easy. You'll really get me talking.
Oh, boy. I'm done with beers for a while, I think. Till probably Saturday night when we go to Cattleman's.
I don't know how often. I mean, I like talking to people.
This could potentially cut down on your phone calls. We'll just tell everybody the hot topics for the week and nobody will even have a reason to call you.
I wouldn't mind sitting and talking with people. I mean, get me and whoever it may be.
What, do you want to have a radio show? Just take calls? Caller number 7. What's your question today?
All right.
We done?
Yep.
Okay. Till next time. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Rural Dispatch. I hope you found something valuable to take back to your own operation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. You can keep up with me between episodes on socials at Behrens & Co. or join our email list on our website to get new episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Wednesday. Until next time, keep those wheels turning. We'll talk soon.